Good evening, everyone. How are you today? Good? Okay, so we are very happy to have you here today with us. So as you can see today, we are going to have our session, Music as a Catalyst for Change. So I'm very happy, I feel honored to give the welcome to two fabulous artists. So with roots and upbringing spanning Yemen, Israel, and the United States, Noah is Israel's most highly acclaimed international singer, songwriter, percussionist, speaker, and an activist. And today, with Gil Dor, an accomplished musician, is going to be here today performing this session. So with a career spanning over 30 years, Noah and Gil have released over 15 albums, graced many of the world's most prestigious stages, and performed for 3 popes. Today, they dedicate their time and creative efforts towards raising awareness on the climate crisis and the plight on the Red Sea corals. So please, welcome Noah and Gil.
Is the sum of my parts anything whole? What do my eyes reveal of my dreams? How can I laugh when inside I scream? How does my song connect to my name? Can there be ever one and the same? And I want you and I need you, and I need you, and I want you and I need you, and I want to set my insides loose, come to terms and sign a truce. If I can't find the mystery code, how will I ever carry this load? And I want you and I need you, and I need you, and I want you and I need you, and I know you're getting tired of the fight. To connect my left side with your right, to connect 2 arms and legs and all 4 chambers of the heart, and understand forever who how can we live with anguish and fear? How can we shelter all that is dear? How can we take our fate in our hands? I'm talking to you, you'll understand that I want you and I need you, and I need you, and I want you and I need you, and I need you, and I want you and I need you, and I need you, and I want you. today. And I believe there's a better way. A way to work together. A way that's so much better for the universe and you and I. The universe begins with you and I. You and I. You and I. If I were a desert flower, all winter long I'd paint and cover. But spring would make me sing, my voice would ring as tiny buds begin to bloom. In spring I'd blossom and forget the winter's gloom. If I were a brook of water, I'd be kissed by the frost along my borders. But spring would make me sing, my voice would ring as I release my icy chains. In spring I'd bow and forget the winter's rains. But I'm only a child of man, you know that's what I am. I'm only a child of a woman and a man, of the human family, a child of man. Don't look so surprised, that's my eyes shining glow. It's the sunlight in the skies that make me so. Ooh. Don't look so surprised, that's my eyes shining glow. It's the sunlight in the skies that's making me so. If I were a joyful songbird, all winter long so cold and somber. But spring would make me sing, my voice would ring as tiny bells begin to sing. In spring I blossom, spread my wings. I'm only a child of man, you know that's what I am. I'm a child of man, that's what I am. A child of man. Don't look so surprised, as my eyes shining low. It's the sunlight in the skies making me so. Don't look so surprised, that's my eyes shining low. It's the sunlight in the skies making me so. Like a flower, oh I sing. לו הייתי עץ הפרח, לו הייתי הר או צמח, הייתי מרגישה את הזרימה החרישית של האוויר, את הזרימה החרישית של האוויר. מאחר ואני אדם, אני רק אדם, אני בת אדם, אני אדם, בת אדם, בת אדם, אני אדם. אל תהיו תמהים למראה שמחתי, אל תהיו תמהים למראה שמחתי, לא. אל תהיו תמהים למראה שמחתי, אל תהיו תמהים למראה שמחתי, לא, לא. flower or tree. I'll throw my head back and sing, I sing, I sing, I sing, I sing. Luaiti et apela bella. Thank you. תודה רבה. תודה רבה. So hello, everybody, and thank you for coming. We're so happy to be with you. I wanted to say 2 words about the first 2 songs we sang. One of them, the first one, was really inspired by thoughts about identity, about who we are. And when I think about the way the world is today, I think that there's basically 2 dynamics. The idea of compressing identity to make it one small thing, and people who build walls around themselves and they don't want anybody to threaten their sense of identity or even be included in their family or tribe in any way. And, they go like this. And then there's the other part, the other tribe that is going like this. They're opening their arms to include as many things and people and cultures and sounds and living creatures in their sense of identity. So today I see myself, I'm an Israeli woman, and I'm a mother of 3, but I'm a citizen of the world, and I love all living creatures, not only people. I like people, not all of them, but I like people in general, but I also like living things. So trees are part of my family, and birds, and corals, and all living. I don't eat fish, I try to protect them. So I open my arms and become this beautiful one with the universe. And I love that. And that is why I wrote that song. Because the universe begins with you and I. And when we create that sense of oneness, we're doing something beautiful. And then the second song we sang, Child of Man, is actually from a Japanese haiku, or a Chinese haiku. Chinese or Japanese, I can't remember. But a beautiful, it's silly, but a beautiful proverb that really basically says, if I were a desert flower, I would always feel, or if I were part of nature, I would always feel the beauty of spring, but it would be part of me. But then I'm just a human being, so don't be so surprised when I glow and I shine. What does that mean? That nature's flows and ebbs are part of me, just like they are part of every living thing in nature. And again, I see myself as one with the natural world. I decided every single song that we selected today would have some kind of a message that was interesting to convey. The third one as well. It comes from an album that Gil and I made during Corona, when we were trapped at home, and each in his own home, but we somehow managed to travel to our studio, which is in my home, and recorded an album of jazz standards. We really love jazz. I grew up in New York City, and that's basically the folk music of the American people. It's jazz. It's wonderful songs. And but this particular song I really liked, a Leon Russell song. But I decided to write new parts of music and lyric around the original song and create this story. And it became this feminist manifest, which we really, really like. So this is This Masquerade. Well, the rain is falling and the hour is late. She will sit by her window, turn the light out and wait. She knows her heart's playing fool's games with her mind, but she swallows the pain again, follows the lie. She's been noticing all that smell in his hair and the look in his eye, unfamiliar his glare. The well-known signs, the snap in her mind. At 2:45 he arrives, and she says, are we really happy here with this lonely game we play? Do-do-do-do. Oh, looking for words to say. Na-na-na-na. Oh, searching but not finding, understanding a new way. We're lost, in a masquerade. I'm both afraid to say we're just too far away from being close together from the start. We tried to talk it over, but the words get in the way. We're lost inside the lonely game we play. Could it be so? Could it be we're lost? Well, they sit face to face on a table of snow, and her tears like the rain in the gutter below. Take off your mask, pretty baby. Is it worth all the doubt? 'Cause after years we don't know what we're loving about. And he says, thoughts of leaving disappear every time I see your eyes. No matter how hard, no matter how hard I try to understand the reasons why we carry on this way. Why do we do it, babe? We're lost in the masquerade. I'm both afraid to say we're just too far away from being close together from the start. We tried to talk it over, but the words get in the way. We're lost inside that lonely game we play. Could it be so? Could it be we're lost? It's 12:45 on a Saturday noon, with a flower he left and a sorrowful tune. As she walks through the door, feels a tickle of pride. Better to be alone, she says, than death at his side. And she goes out. Okay, thank you. All right. Now we're going to move on to a project that we did just before Corona hit the world. We've made albums like Kala was saying before, albums of all types over the years, 30 years of music. But we decided to dedicate ourselves to Johann Sebastian Bach, this amazing, amazing composer. And one of the reasons for that, again, connected to the subject of our discussion and everything going on here at the World Economic Forum, I think in the world, is that one of the things we have to deal with is that how do we get along with each other? How do we find a way to live together when we're actually all so very different? We have things in common, but we're basically different, and that's beautiful, how different we all are. And how do we get along with nature? I mean, how do we find a way to live together and to make beautiful music together? Well, actually, the definition of that is polyphony. Polyphony is many different voices finding a way to live together, even when there is dissonance between them. Because in polyphony, as opposed to harmony, dissonance is welcome. It's often very beautiful. And the great masters of polyphony have always found ways to create dissonant couplings of notes and flow them into some beautiful place where they again sounded magical, and dissonant and magical, and dissonant and magical. But together it's something incredible. That's polyphony. That's what we need. And who is the master of polyphony? Bach. So we decided to dedicate this album to Bach, and we thought, what can we give to Bach? Why does Bach need us? He really does not. So lyrics, I thought. Maybe I would write some lyrics to Bach and see what we had to say with Bach. And connect also Bach and from that generation to this generation, really have this convergence of ideas and music and people together with Bach. So we're going to sing a collection. Most of these pieces are pretty short, except one of them is a tiny bit longer, but yeah, they're nice. We're going to start with two inventions. Now, these are pieces that are normally played on piano, with two hands. So effectively, we are the two hands of the piano. I'm the right hand, and Gil is the left hand. So this invention number 4 is called, no, actually number 1 is called The Race. This is a ditty by Johann Sebastian Bach. It's very pretty in the way it sways my heart. Now look, a melody will start and send an arrow or a dart into an unsuspecting heart. Cupid plays his classic part, and then another melody will start a race. It puts a smile upon my face that I can't seem to erase. Oh, Mr. Bach, you blow my mind. Though I may search, I'll never find a way to understand that race. The way your melodies embrace like lovers do, so deep, so true, and then they start anew to chase each other and to imitate and emulate and dive. I'm getting dizzy, but oh God, this makes me feel alive, like lovers everywhere on earth. Your melodies will sometimes fight, but after tears there is rebirth, and we find ways to make things right. Those melodies are you and me. We trip and fall, we're blind, we see, we thank the gods that we are free. Hallelujah. Our melodies have found their home, and so must we, and say shalom. Tadawa. Here's another one called Little Loving, which is what we need. Little loving, just a little loving, that is all I need, yes indeed. Little loving, just a little loving, and I'll start believing in the Lord above and all those stories about the man, the ark, the dove, Moses bringing those tablets of 10. Love for a woman and men. I don't need all of humanity, all I need is you. You make me feel the world is not a basket case, when through my tears I see your smiling face. A little love and plus some love and passion, and I'll see the world in optimistic fashion. Though it seems that we are losing, I can't connect to what the world is choosing. I'd resurrect a simple way of loving, mine is push and shoving. Ooh, the angels sing, a little love bringing in a little loving, just a little love and a elementary. Little loving, just a little loving every night and day. The anger melts away, come on. Let's put our weapons down, erase the fear, the frown, and let the sun shine in. Thank you. So now a beautiful piece of music, the Largo, again from Bach, Concerto number 5 in F minor, the Largo. Very beautiful melody. Actually, the Swingle Singers performed this piece many, many years ago in the 60s, but with dabada. You know, they say dabada, ba-da-ba-da-ba. Nice. But I was thinking like dabada, you know, I don't know. No, lyrics. You need to be saying something. What's dabada? Beautiful music, but not enough. I wanted to say something. And I remember I played with that melody for a long time. What is he saying? What is Bach? What does the music want to say? Not what I want to say. What does the music want to say? And let's see if me and the music want to say the same thing. So I played with that for a long time. And then these words came, look at me, wow, look at me. And I started thinking, who's looking at who? And how difficult it is for them to look. How difficult is that observation? What's happening when they try to see? How difficult it is to see sometimes. So often we don't really see each other. We pretend to. We don't look in each other's eyes. We don't really want to see each other's pain or fragility. We sort of avoid each other many times. And I think we should be looking deeply into each other's eyes and inspecting what's going on there and seeing each other when we look at another person. So I was inspired by these two amazing women, a Palestinian and an Israeli, who are part of a group called the Parent Circle Family Forum. These are bereaved parents who have lost their family members, the people dearest to them in the bloody struggle between Israel and Palestine, which long should have been solved already, but is still going on. So these courageous people, rather than embrace violence and vengeance, embrace peace and work for peace, and how noble and beautiful that is. especially the women. So these were my inspiration for this lyric. Look at me across the border, beyond the wall. Look at me the way you would observe yourself in life's broken mirror. And now I refuse to bow to those who say the world is changing now, and as it changes there's no way to see the other like a child lost in the loneliest night. Those who sentence us to fear and fight. Here is a woman in labor. Her child will soon be born, but who knows if you'll find favor in the eyes of those who rule and rampage, who dominate the earth and skies. With words of hate they close the gates of hope. Come, we cannot let them blind us, for every woman in the world knows what it's like when they cripple and bind us. Forever searching and waiting and anticipating, we ask ourselves when, we ask again and again, when will we finally find freedom? Look, there is a crack and it's growing. There is a light and it's glowing through the sorrow, beyond the tears, beyond tomorrow. There must be something more that we can do. I can see you, your beauty shows. Beyond your weakness and pain, it glows. The morning is near now. As the stars disappear, we'll shatter that wall. We'll watch it fall. Together, sister, we can. Come, give me your hand. Thank you, friends. Thank you. Toda raba. Thank you. So, two more little pieces of Bach. More fun. So this one, I'm sorry, by the way, for anyone who was at the Cultural Leaders Dinner is hearing me say this for the second time, but I hope you're enjoying it anyway. These lyrics are so fast, so I figured even if you're hearing it for the first time, it's hard to catch all of them. So this song I wrote about my daughter, my teenage daughter, Enea, her name is. I have a 22-year-old son and a 12-year-old daughter, and in the middle there is Enea. She's a sandwich, she's a firecracker, she's crazy, she's the only person in the world I'm afraid of, to tell you the truth, but I love her so much, she's so amazing. So this is a monologue. Think of a teenager talking through Bach. Oh, mama dear, do not expect me to come polite. I'm in the middle of a story. My body's doing things I can't understand. My mind is banging like a big bright brass band. As for my mouth, well, as we can both tell, it's making bolts look slow. Oh, mama dear, don't ask me to calm down. I can't. I try to answer you politely, then I rant. Believe me, this is nothing I can control. And besides that, both of us are playing our role. You are trying to save me from myself. It's for my own health. And then we both yell until we sound like sirens rushing to a fire. Oh, mama dear, there is so much that you can't see. I'm caught into a loop and everything is me. I'm taught to think that I could tear the world apart. And every selfie is a stunning work of art. Oh, mama dear, it's very clear we're lost inside a world that tells us that the other is a thing we need to buy. That global warming is a joke at best, or a blatant lie. And plastic islands floating in the sea are far away, so why worry? Oh, mama dear, just look at me. I'm smarter than you'll ever be. Got a heart of gold, I'm brave and bold. I'll save the world like mama's girl. Come on now, mama, let's just hold each other very tight and say good night. Woohoo! Okay, almost finished with the music. Two more little pieces. This is the last piece of Bach we're going to do. This was, I have to say, that the executive producer of this album, we are honored to say, is Quincy Jones, one of the greatest musicians and our mentor and friend. And he really loved this album. This song he particularly dug, and you will hear why. No, baby, no, baby, no, baby, no. Don't you ever say you're gonna go ahead and leave me. No, baby, don't ever go. When I'm with you, I'm elated. Our last is overrated. If we're staying every moment of the day, the Scooby-Doo, the Shooby-Doo, gets me shining like a tuba, gets me sailing down a rope, ever say good day. So, baby, so, baby, so, baby, so. What do you say we take a little stroll around Davos? Go, baby, go, baby, go, baby, go. Sip and shake and hit the shopping. Then go dancing till we drop it. Whirl around and wiggle like an always make a giggle when the two of us are moving on. The universe is grooving and the rhythm kisses so that all our cares away. Hey, baby, you know it's true. You and me got to both stay together. Stay, baby, do what you do. People say you're crazy, disconnected. Maybe he's about to heaven, kind of notion on the power in emotion and the simmering emotion takes my breath away. You are all my eyes are seeing. Life's a song and we are playing. You can change, but it's never really wrong. Short and sweet with the beat, with the bone. Make it short, make it long, but some of they're just playing. Hey, baby, you know it's true. You and me got to both stay together. Step baby, do what you do. People say you're crazy, disconnect. Mad haze, bad heavy kind of notion. All the power in emotion and the simmering emotion takes my breath away. You are all my eyes are seeing. Now that we're by dinner and Bach was smiling when he wrote this little song. So I'll smile and again I will say every single day, will you stay? Ah, baby, are you stay? Thank you. All right, thank you. We're going to end the little musical part of this show with a song that you can also join us in, which would be really, really nice. You'll know when you have to sing. I'll indicate it to you. You can learn it on the fly. It's beautiful, and it's the message we'd like to end with. Here, my friends, I stand before you naked, stripped of all pretense. I'm here to say a word or two in the name of love and innocence. It's been a long time, they've been out of style, and I won't live in illusion. There's not much thanks that things will change on lonely planet Earth. All that is natural, all that is free, like me loving you and you loving me, like the sweet fruit growing on a tree, like the blood-red coral in the sea, like shaking hands and sharing food and a real creative attitude and a big strong hug. Well, that feels good. And the miracle of birth. Shalom, shalom. Come on, this is your part. Shalom, 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 shalom. Try to learn it. Shalom, 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 salam, salam. Salam, 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 shy. Salam, salam, salam. You really don't need a diploma from any university to understand and to enjoy this plentiful diversity. You only need to free your mind of all those preconceptions. Use your mouth for laughing and for asking and to kiss. Communicate, communicate. Don't say, oh Lord, I've come too late. You're always welcome at love's gate to wash your feet of fear and hate. So when you come and when you go, the words are peace, goodbye, hello. In a language that I know, it goes like this. Shalom, shalom, come on, come on. Shalom, 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 yeah. Shalom, 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 salam, salam. Salam, 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 salam. salam, salam. Ooh, 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 ooh. Shalom, shalom, come on, come on. Shalom, 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 shalom. Shalom, 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 salam, salam. Salam, 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 salam. Salam, salam, salam. So if our strategy is love, don't bite my head off. I said love, and you said it's so easy to miss. So when you come and when you go, the words are peace, goodbye, hello. In a language now you know, it goes like this.
Shalom, shalom. Shalom, 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 shalom. Shalom, 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 salam, salam. Salam, 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 everybody. Salam. Salam, 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 salam,
Shalom.
Shalom, shalom,
Peace,
shalom,
goodbye,
shalom,
hello.
shalom.
In a language that I know, it goes like this.
Salam,
Shalom, shalom, shalom,
Salam,
shalom.
salam,
Peace,
salam,
goodbye, hello.
salam.
In a language that I know,
Salam,
it goes like this.
Shalom.
So thank you very much for listening to our music. You've touched our hearts. You know love and kindness, that's what breaks me apart. I'd like to say thank you to Tristan on the sound. Thank you, Tristan. And thank you to Robert as well. Thank you. And to the team of the Open Forum here. Thank you for having us here. Toda rabba, toda rabba. And to all of you for listening with an open heart. When we do that thing of opening our heart, that's when we start. That's when we start to make things right. So why don't we start tonight? Why don't we start tonight? Shalom, 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 shalom. Thank you very much. And a huge thanks to Gil Dor, my man. Woo! Thank you for listening. Toda rabba. תודה רבה, תודה.
Thank you very much, Noah and Gil, for this amazing.
Can I just say it's Gil?
Gil. I'm from Ecuador. My G's are
a very
weird.
common mistake.
Gil.
Gil.
Gil. Gil. Okay, I'm gonna try to remember it. So
the
thank
gills.
you. Thank you very
Fish.
much.
Two
The
gills?
gills of a fish, right. Think fish.
gills,
Think coral reefs, fish, gills. Okay, doesn't matter. Okay, doesn't matter.
So, Noah, you have been called the voice of peace for your activism on diplomacy, dialogue, and coexistence. So, for starting this session, I would like to ask you, how do you see art? What do you do that is cultural diplomacy, and how that can really provoke change?
Ooh, well, that's a big one, right? Well, why do people actually hate each other? Let's think about that for a moment. Why do they start fighting against each other? I think the number one thing is fear. People are afraid. Fear is our enemy. So you're afraid somebody will take something away from you, right? You're afraid they'll take away your land, your identity, your water, your God. You're afraid that someone will threaten what you think of yourself. You're just afraid. You're terrified, actually. So terror leads to violence. Terror is violence, terror in the form of terrorism. But fear and terror lead to violence. So what can make you not afraid, actually? What is the thing that will make you not afraid? And then maybe avoid that violent circle. I think that one of the things that can eliminate fear is when you realize that the other person is just like you. They're also very fragile, they're very vulnerable, they're afraid of dying, they're afraid of losing the things dear to them like their parents or their children or their livelihood, they're afraid of starving to death. Everyone is in the same boat. So how do you actually make people realize that they're the same. I think that one of the important and valuable tools is art itself. Because what does art do? Think about that for a second. So art, I've always thought, artists have these two things that they do at the same time. First, they stick their hands in the mud, right? We stick our hands in the mud, in the guts, in those places which are painful and awful, where we want to cry, where we've lost love, where we've lost something dear to our souls, when we're devastated, when those places, all the great songs come from tragedy. So artists love drama and tragedy. So that's down there in the belly when it hurts. But then on the other hand, we spread our wings and fly, and we soar in the air. We're happy like children. And we play. It's not just playing music, it's playing. It's joyful. So we're in the mud and we're in the air, and those are intrinsically human things. They make us feel human. They make us feel like children, make us feel vulnerable, and they make us feel the same. So when we have that sense of unity and oneness in communication, I think that we're very much less prone to hating each other and fighting wars. That's one of the great values of art. It enables people to somehow speak for a moment, and I'm definitely not the first person who said that, the same language, just for a moment, and tears down the Tower of Babel. And another beautiful thing that Leonard Bernstein said about art is that art ennobles people. It raises them up. It makes their spine longer, makes them feel, wow. And in that state, they can do things. So art doesn't change the world, but it changes people, and people change the world.
Beautiful, beautiful words. Thank you very much. So,
Gil was reminded me of a beautiful thing in Hebrew. In Hebrew, the word for for violence in Hebrew is alimut, alimut. And in the middle of that word, we have the root, elem. And elem means muteness. So when we don't talk, when we are mute, we become violent. When we don't communicate, when we don't learn about each other, when we don't look at me across the border like that song I sang, that's when we become violent. If you can keep the communication going, talk as much as you can, you have a chance of eliminating violence.
Such a powerful message.
Thanks.
So I'm going to go with Gil. So Gil, you co-founded the Riemann School of Jazz and Contemporary Music and co-founded the School Computer-Aided Music Program. So I would like to ask you, how do you think music can be a catalyst for change and especially for communities?
Wow, again. Well, first of all, it's not that heavy a challenge because we are only supposed to be a catalyst. And the catalyst for change is the change of heart. You have to change the state of mind of people. And the idea is that music, just like art, just like Noah says, in her words, it opens the hearts, it ennobles people, but it makes them look at things differently. Remember when you go into a gallery or a museum for a 2-hour visit or 3 of paintings and sculpture, the minute you walk out, everything looks like art. Every trash bin or tree, because your perception changed, because what art is a mode of perception. It's not the thing. It's a way to look at things. It's about framing and reframing ideas. And music is the same with notes, different material, different medium. So art makes mush your mind, makes possibilities for reframing, for looking at things differently. And that is an opportunity, because in that moment is an opportunity to sneak in and bring you messages that you're ready to accept. Whereas in the daily functioning mode of your brain, you're blocked. You hear the words, they don't come in. But when that moment of transition of modes of perception, that's the opportunity. That's what she's doing.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful words.
Beautiful. Thank you very much for that. So currently, you dedicate much of your time to the relationship between cultural diplomacy and leadership and the climate crisis. One of the main projects you are leading focuses on the preservation of the unique coral reefs of the Gulf of Aqaba, named Reef of Hope. Tell us more about this project and why it's very important for you.
Well, okay. So I guess before I answer that, I will go a little bit back, because it's important to say that we started our activism in 1995. We started it when Yitzhak Rabin was murdered in an enormous, amazing peace rally where we were singing on stage. It was a happy moment. We believed that Israel could finally achieve peace with her Palestinian neighbors. It was a great moment of happiness. We all believed in that. And Rabin was an extraordinary man, and Shimon Peres, and they were on stage. Rabin was singing. We were singing. It was so happy. 10 minutes later, we walked down the stairs. 5 minutes later, he walked down the stairs and was murdered by a Jewish settler. For me, this was a devastating moment beyond belief. I just couldn't believe it. And I decided at that moment that if he could, pay with his life, I would also be willing to pay a price. Hopefully not with my life, though you never know. I got a lot of threats to my life. But I wanted to pick up that torch that had fallen to the floor and run with it, because I so deeply believed that the only way to secure a future for Israel and for Palestine was through peace. War, we had tried. We know how to make war. I served in the Israeli army. My children are serving. My husband, my father, all of us. We serve in the army. We know how to do that. But that's not what we want to keep doing. We'll only do it if it's an absolute necessity. And peace is a much better option, a respectful, dignified option for humanity. So I so deeply believed in that I started saying it all the time. And I'm not a politician. I'm not very politically correct. I said some hard things. They came from my gut. I put my hands in the mud and I said what I believed. So that's what started the activism. For many years, Gil and I were mostly involved in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and also with all of the Arab world. We really, truly wanted to build bridges, and we did so with music. It brought us here to Davos. I actually won the Crystal Award as a result of that activity, and it was here in Davos that we performed with Palestinian artists on stage. We had amazing opportunities. Then there was 9/11. And Davos moved to New York. That's where we met Quincy Jones. And the Ave Maria was performed there, another one of the songs that has been with me. So human rights, equal rights, women's rights, and mostly peace between Israelis and Palestinians has been a huge focus on our career. So what brought us to climate? And that's, I'm now swinging into the climate thing. It actually started with a conversation with a man that I think is in this room. He said he would come, Tal Ronen, there he is. Yeah. Hi, Tal. So Tal Ronen is an amazing person, and he's here in this room. And he's actually here with a group of people from the SDG lab that we visited yesterday, which is an amazing group of people thinking about sustainable development goals. There's SDG Israel, I have to mention, that I really am excited about, with a lot of incredible solutions, both from the technological world and the financial world, and there's a community, and it's exciting. This is what we should be focusing on. But Tal was doing this many, many years before most people. It's a little like Al Gore. There's people who were saying these things, and only very few of us were really listening. But now everybody's listening. So I remember I was involved in one of the other big peace projects I was trying to put together, and I approached Tal, and Tal said, well, Achinoam, my full name is Achinoam, that's really admirable and great and good luck, but you should really be thinking about the climate, because that's like way, all the other struggles are going to become almost irrelevant if the world is going to collapse. You have a voice, use it for the climate. And I said, okay, that's interesting, but I was not ready yet at the time to really embrace that. But now I am. So 2 years ago, I visited the Red Sea, an amazing place called the Inter-University Institute of Marine Biology, Marine Studies, in Eilat, Israel. Eilat is the city that is right at the tip of the Red Sea, the northern Red Sea, just across from Aqaba in Jordan. And this is an incredible research center, and I met a man by the name of Professor Maoz Fine. And this man told me about the research that he was doing, that he spearheaded, but is now quite profuse around the area in many scientific institutions, saying that the corals of the northern Red Sea were the most resilient in the world to the rising temperatures of seawaters. And actually, they had the best chance of surviving in the next 50 years, more than any other coral reef in the world. And I said, oh my God, that's amazing. So, wow. You know, as a child, I remember, what child? Okay. I grew up in New York. I came to Israel following a love that I had for a man, teenager, at the age of 16. And that's when I visited the Sinai Desert for the first time. And I remember the amazing sensation of putting my head with a mask into the water. You know, the Sinai, it's a desert. It's bleak. There's nothing there. You can see the blue sea, but you have no idea what's going on under that water. It's amazing and beautiful. Wow. I tried to yell. I remember trying to yell, but you can't yell with the snorkel. So I was blown away. So for years, I've loved snorkeling, scuba dive, and everything. So then Maoz tells me about this amazing quality of these reefs. And I say, well, we have to embark on a project to protect them. And how are we going to do that? He said, yeah, there's this reserve, this bioreserve. I said, yeah, but that's not enough. You know, it has to be something much more significant than that. And I told him, well, why don't we try for UNESCO Natural World Heritage? That's significant. Why is it important? First of all, because it's an international institution with a lot of prestige. And you know, in the Middle East, prestige goes a long way. We really, respect. That's important to people in our area. And besides, another thing about the Middle East, we function really well when we're being observed. When we're not, we go to sleep in the desert sun. But if the world is looking at us and everybody's looking at us and we're looking at each other, there's a better chance that we'll actually get the work done. And I thought to myself, wow, look here. There's this amazing opportunity for diplomacy. Because in order for this status to be achieved, and it's a long process, it's not easy, then 4 countries would have to apply together. Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Israel. Now, what an amazing thing that would be if we could actually pull that off, getting them to agree on something. And not to say, and this is very important to note, if we were to agree on saving the corals of the Red Sea, that doesn't mean that everything's okay and that we don't have to fight to solve all the other problems and that the Israeli-Palestinian issue is not critical and I personally will continue like Jeanne d'Arc to fight for it. But here, at the same time, is something that critically needs our help, this beautiful, amazing ecosystem, which supports the livelihood of millions of people. I don't think you're aware how many millions of people depend on the reefs in the Sinai Desert alone. Egypt, for example, has more income from these reefs than from the pyramids. It's one of the large, and this is a poor country that really, really needs those beautiful reefs. Not to mention the fact the world needs them for research, for everything that they represent. So that's how this crazy thing started, and I became obsessed with it. Yeah. Obsessed, really. That's all I could think about, and we we opened a lot of doors. We created a scientific conference hosted by our friends at Frontiers in Lausanne, amazing group of people. We brought scientists from all over the world. We wrote a white paper that is with some of the most important marine biologists in the world, including marine biologists from the region. So we had a Saudi, we had a guy from Sudan, we had a Jordanian and an Egyptian sitting around the table agreeing on the value of these reefs, so beautiful, and the scientific paper that came out. And Gil and I started on an artistic project as well. And this is what was presented in the opening night of the World Economic Forum, I'm proud to say. The whole show that maybe some of you saw called I See You, whoever's part of the forum, but it will be developed, I See You as S-E-A, I See You. We're going to develop that into an entire artistic program where the idea is to create this association, deep emotional association between ourselves and the sea.
Catalyst for change.
A catalyst for change. So that's and then you have this triangle, right? The triangle is science, research, science, diplomacy, which enables the things to come together, and art, which opens the heart. And this is a very solid and beautiful triangle that I believe if we really, really work for every one of these 3 points, we can make a change.
Wow, that's such an inspiring. Thank you very much, no, for all the work that you are doing for the reef corals. That's critical for our environment and it's critical for the future generations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my friend.
So, Gil, I want to go more into a personal question with you. I wanted to ask
Personal
you,
question.
what have been the main milestones in your career that have shaped who you are now?
I'm too young to answer that. Only 70 years old. Well, first, my father was a scientist, a botanist dealing with the genetics of cotton and other industrial crops. But he was a really accomplished classical pianist. And he was Hungarian and really a child prodigy way back then. And I grew up with the sounds of the most beautiful music. I remember from age 3, the opening aria from the Goldberg Variations. I could whistle it or sing myself to sleep with it, and so on and so forth. So the virus of music was, I got it right there and then. And then I went to study way later. I went to study music at the Berklee College of Music in Boston, and then in Queens College, New York, with both disciplines of jazz and classical music, and trying to see that the magic of music is one. Like, I think Duke Ellington said,
Yeah. There's two types of
there are
music.
two types of music, the good one and all the rest. We're trying to, and that connects to what Noah said. My fascination with polyphony, to the effect that it controls everything we do, etc., etc. And then I came back to Israel and helped to establish this Rimon School of Music that you mentioned, and that was the third big station that changed my life, because at that school I met a brilliant student. And I had, no, really, and this is a very serious matter. We did a concert very similar to what you just saw. Just guitar and voice. It was a student-teacher collaboration in a tiny festival. And I was so impressed with her performance and what we managed to do that I went home. And 3 o'clock at night, I picked up the old telephone, no cell phone, and I called a friend who's the amazing Pat Metheny, if you know who he is, one of the biggest, 50 Grammys winner in jazz, really master figure, and somebody I knew from the Berklee School of Music back then. And I told him that I just met an incredibly talented performer, and I have to add to that the most important thing. Most people don't know. They see a man and a woman, and they think that the guy is the composer and everything else with the music, and maybe she writes the lyrics. But that's not the case. Noah is the composer of 97% of the 30-year music that we do together, although her main instrument, like as it should be, is her voice. You heard her improvising melodies and lyrics just like that on the spot. We have a project now of doing it for a full program without anything prepared. But what I could bring in is also what you saw is the arrangement, the harmonization, the counterpoints, and all that. And together we formed this amazing coalition. So this school for music, that's also a big lesson. When you come, there are no teachers and students. They're just people sharing knowledge. This is like, go back to the old Greek days of Aristo and Platon. The academy is just a bunch of guys exchanging ideas, some older with some more experience and some with genius. Anyway, so this one concert brought us immediately from zero, from nothing, to Los Angeles to Pat Metheny, the great Pat, took us by hand and flew us over to David Geffen and said, you got to sign these guys. So from nothing, we were signed in LA and we started our international career. So obviously I didn't go back to school, although I was the dean of curriculum and I established, but I was on the road all the time.
And I can tell you, I stayed in school for 30 years with him. I
So she
I have
snatched
about
the teacher
PhDs
out of-
now. I got the teacher, and it's a classroom, and it never ends. There's always something
Okay,
to
so
learn
this is-
from this amazing man. I'm
This
so
is-
lucky, really.
This is our
I'm the
thing.
luckiest.
And I have to say one more thing very important. Being the old man that I am, I knew Israel way, way better than Noah, because she was practically a new immigrant having grown up in New York. So she came as a, almost
Teenager.
a teenager, and then she started school, and it was brilliant, nice. But she knew very, very little about the conflict, about everything that's going on around. So airplanes, a very important station in our lives, because that's where we talked for hours, that I was mentoring her to understand what's happening. And she was like, oh, I got to start reading everything about it because I was feeding her information. So that's true. Musical collaboration is never only musical. It's always a whole mind collaboration about everything. We talk about philosophy, about science, about politics, and of course about music. So.
Thank you for sharing that story.
See now why I'm working with him for 30 years?
Wow.
There's always something to learn and to open them. It's so fascinating. It's never boring. It's so great. I'm so lucky.
We should
What a partner.
And just to make sure that you know, we're not married. We have a musical marriage. But I have a wonderful... That same guy that I met at age 16, I married and have 3 beautiful children with him. So I've married my childhood sweetheart, and Gil has an incredible wife, children and grandchildren.
5.
Yes.
Actually, our spouses are arriving tomorrow.
Yeah.
To continue to have some good time.
Before closing this session, because I know we are on time, Noah, I would like to ask you that you give us a message. A message because we are living in a huge crisis. It seems like even though we want to provoke change, sometimes we see that nothing is happening. Right. But you have inspired a lot of people. You have created your own foundation. Yeah. And you have really started making things happening. Yeah. So what would be your message?
Well, yeah, it's good that you reminded me to talk about the foundation that is on in the name of this session, Noah's Ark. You know, we created a foundation called Noah's Ark. Of course, you know, my Noah is the feminine version of Noah. She was the first feminist in the Bible, by the way, which is most people don't know. Most people are familiar with the Noah with the H. He's the man with the ark and all that. So we put those two concepts together. In Noah's Ark Foundation, we have a lot of projects. ICU and Reefs of Hope is part of it. It's really basically a home for all of the activity we've been doing for a quarter of a century that has to do with the marriage between music and values. And we really believe that those two things must go hand in hand, and you can imagine them going hand in hand onto the ark over the turbulent waters of the world we live in and transporting us to a place of peace where we find the dove and the rainbow. That's the idea of Noah's Ark. You're very welcome to find out more about our foundation and be part of it. You know, we need volunteers, we need members, we need angels, whatever you want to be. You're welcome to join us. And so for that message, I think the first thing I would say, even though I've sort of been giving you messages here for the first moment, but some more, why not? First thing I would say, that, you know, every single person can do something. And sometimes when we look at something so overwhelming and daunting, like the climate crisis or the big crises in the world, then we shrivel, you know, like the corals, you know, they go back into their little shells and that's it. And only when the coast is clear, they come out, you know. The coast is not going to be clear, let me tell you. It's going to stay like this for a good while, so don't go into the shell. Come out and see what you can do. I really, truly believe that every single tiny contribution is significant. Imagine if every single human being contributed just a tiny bit. Recycle. Change your car if you can to an electric vehicle. Tell a friend about something. Volunteer for some organization. Talk about it. Make sure that it's important. Don't, if you find a climate denier, invite them to coffee and talk to them about it. Let's, have that conversation. That's really important. Choose something. Choose something that you're passionate about. Like me, okay, coral reefs are not the, sorry, I heard some people, amazing people in Davos, in this forum, talking about things that need to be done. There are big things to do, carbon capture and all of that. And I have to say that I was very encouraged to listen to some very powerful people saying amazing things about what they're dedicated to doing, either by pledging their money or their resources or their research or the knowledge to try to solve these problems. There are people working on that. That's encouraging, and it's important to be also encouraged. But it's not enough to say the politicians or the billionaires or the policymakers should do the work. No. We all have to do the work, even if it's just the vote you put in there. You live in a democracy, that's a privilege. Vote for the people who will do the job and do your little thing. So, top, bottom, the whole thing has to work together. And the second thing I would say, if I could point at something that really, really I think we need to get rid of is greed. We have to stop it. We have to stop. I don't like that word. I hate it. I would erase it from every language. Greed, no. Generosity, open the heart. Reach out. You are the big receiver when you do that. It'll come back to you big time. I believe in that so deeply. Even if you don't exactly see it at that moment, even if it's not like one-to-one. But when you open and you are generous and you give and you see the other and you share knowledge, possessions, light, it reflects back on you. And then life becomes beautiful. And I truly believe life is beautiful.
Thank you, Noah. And Gil, any final remarks that would you like to share with us?
Yeah. Right. We normally speak like the same person, so I guess I'd represent both of us saying that.
Okay, thank you very much, Noah. Thank you, Gil.
Thank you.
We are very, very happy to have you here.
Thank you for coming. Thank you. Sure, no problem.
We would like to ask the audience if you have any questions.
Or any contributions or just things you want to say. We'd be happy to hear you. Don't be shy. What a shy group. Oh, my God. Is that a Swiss thing? Here, there's a microphone, dear. Thank you.
Sorry. I would like to thank you. Thank you for such a great energy. Thank you for your kind words. And thank you for the message, and especially message about peace. Peace between Palestine and Israel, Russia and Ukraine, and all the countries, all the people in the world.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. There's somebody back there.
Thank you very much. We were lucky to enjoy it during our Davos Lab, Noah. I want to go back to your project about the corals. It's great what you're doing there. I know the place in Egypt. There are places near Australia. There may be more. I mean, is there a next step to make it like the world movement, to have it over different seas? And maybe it should be not only about corals, but different sea flora is in big trouble.
So, yes. The sea in general needs to be protected. I have to say that one of the encouraging things, maybe you know, is that in Montreal just recently there was a pledge by the international community to protect 30% of the world's oceans. And that is a big deal. Hopefully that will happen. Yes, there's so many things that need addressing. But like I say, I can't solve all of the world's problems, though I wish I could. I've chosen one that is close to my heart, that is in my neighborhood, that involves the possibility for a dialogue between these countries and these specific coral reefs. I have to tell you that there are many projects around the world that are centered on reefs, that are centered on ocean health, on marine preservation and protection, and that's very encouraging and beautiful. And these projects work in synergy. And there are also international organizations, overarching, that would either assist financially or assist with knowledge or with the kind of diplomacy needed for these things. It's encouraging. And there have been successes. Today, for example, we were reminded about the Arctic Pact that happened in 1959. The Arctic Pact happened between countries that were not getting along in any way. I think Russia was one of them. There was war. The war had just, it was an era of war. The Cold War, and so, but despite the differences and the animosity, an agreement was reached about that Arctic Ocean, which is a huge step forward for humanity, which makes me also, hopeful that maybe in our area, where the struggles are, they're struggles, but they're not anywhere next to those horrible wars that were fought. Maybe we can also achieve that. So I think that connects to what I was saying. Choose your cause. Choose something that you're passionate about and go for it. And then all those pieces will come together. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Anybody else? We'd love to hear
questions? Comments?
Don't be shy.
I have one comment. One of the things that really sustains our hope, just like that example, is even a tougher example, I would say, or a more dramatic example about how quickly things can change, and that is from the experience of the Jewish people. Look, at the relationship between Israel, Jewish people, and Germany. And remember that the relationship, the correction of the relationship, was starting in the 50s, just a few years after the most horrible trauma humanity has known, or one of them. There are many. We have to acknowledge them all, by the way. But I know my people. And then, we thought about it many times. Noah and I performed in Munich in this huge auditorium, huge, like 10,000 people, whatever. And the promoter was a very famous Jewish promoter in Germany, who stayed there after the war and became one of the kings of the the business, our business. And he came with tears. He was very old at the time already. And he grabbed us just before we went on stage, and he said, "Gil, Noah, do you know what happened? What is the date today and what it is? This is the day of Kristallnacht." And we were shocked. And we thought, is that possible that years later, here are two Israelis performing for thousands of Germans, and life is beautiful? So that's a theme that these are the strong examples that make us hopeful that even in the most catastrophic things, maybe in 10 years, 5 years, less or more, things can be fixed. And this is an important message. And this is how we feel about the ocean and the climate. We all have to think, we must believe that the goals set, we all have to, like you said, each and everyone has to contribute an effort so that the goals are reached. Because if we don't put the pressure from downwards, maybe they won't. It's a responsibility, not just optimism.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, and I think we close this session with hope and optimism. Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear friends.
Have a good night.
תודה רבה.